Hello there. Today I'm going to show you how to make a UDS. That would be an ugly drum smoker. But folks, this one's not going to be real ugly because I'm going to paint this one up and make it look real pretty. So we're going to take this drum and we're going to transform it into a fantastic UDS or ugly drum smoker that you can cook briskets on, pork butts on, ribs, chickens, whatever you want to. This is a great way to build a very affordable, fantastic cooking barbecue pit. So stick around and let me show you how to make this UDS at your own house. Hey there, I am Chef Johnny. This is Texas Style Barbecue and Cuisine. Appreciate you stopping by. Today, we're making another UDS. You may have seen me make one or use parts off my old one. I think I said rebuild a UDS. A lot of people watch that video. This one, we're going to prep it, get it ready for a kit. Now, UDSparts.com sent me out their ultimate kit, folks. And we're going to put this together for them. They're sponsoring the video today. And I'm going to show you how their parts work, how to get them on here. I'm going to try to do some close-ups. I'm going to try to show you all of our measurements so you see exactly where to go, what size bolt holes to drill, and everything else that you're going to need to put this together. It's not that hard. If you have some basic skills, handyman skills, you can make one of these at home. All right, I'm telling you, it's not that tough. We are going to paint this one. It's going to be a cherry red with aluminum colored intakes and stacks. So it's going to be a little, it's going to be prettier than any ugly drum I've ever smoked. So, hey, let's go through all the parts they sent us in this kit, show you the additional parts I got, and we're going to get to building this ugly drum smoker. So let's look at those parts. Let's check this out, what came in the kit. Folks, we got a grate. It's a lava lock grate, laser cut, fantastic grate, heavy duty. It came in the kit, a handle for the lid, a grommet to pass your temperature probes through, thermometer, exhaust port with the lid for it, of course nuts, bolts, things like that, insulation for the lid, RTV sealant for the going around the intakes and things like that so they don't leak. You get a bottle opener with this kit, 4 rib hangers. You don't get the hanger, you have to make it or buy one from them, but you do get 4 of the hangers for ribs. Again, assorted nuts and bolts. You get those. You get this nice 12 by 12 basket. This is great basket, loving it. It's going to work great. It's heavy duty, it'll outlive this barrel. But that's where our charcoal goes. You get the long uprights for the air intakes right there. So that's what you get in the kit. I think that's everything. This is the ultimate kit. You can see it. I think they're 330 bucks for the ultimate kit. But the wheels now, I bought the wheels and the mounts. These are the only thing that I would say maybe I was a little disappointed in, is this is not bent where it fits the barrel. You're gonna have to take a wrench and bend that ear and that ear in so they touch the barrel properly. But I bought a set of wheels, and everything else is gonna be pretty much this kit. I do have a diffuser plate going in, so I had to buy some extra nuts and bolts to put the diffuser plate in, ran down to True Value, picked it up. We measure, every barrel is not created the same, so they're not exactly the same. But if you measure around it, get your midpoint, then you can get you a line. And we're going to bring a line to the front. We're going to use the seam on the barrel. And I can show you where that seam is. This seam, and I'll get you a close-up where y'all can see it, that's going to be my back. So I'm going to measure everything off of that seam to the front to make it work. Now, if you just want to say, hey, that's approximately, 71 inches or 72 inches, and measure to the front and go everything off that front line, you can do it. If you want to make this your center in the front, you can do that, but I like putting the seam in the back. So 70 3/4, so halfway would be 35 3/8. So I'm going to get my front line at 35 3/8. So what I'm going to do is tape my tape measure in place here and down here, and then I will be able to measure around to get my distance because I don't have anybody to hold the tape measure for me. So I'm going to use that blue tape I had, That's what we're using it for. So let's get those marked. I'll let you see how we do that. So guys, what I'm going to do is, y'all can see this. I'm just going to take my tape measure and go right there, and I'm going to put some blue tape on it. See if y'all can see that. So that is taped on. Now I can turn my barrel. So now midway through was 35 3/8 inch. And I'm going to use that chisel point to give me a nice point. If you had a smaller, I don't have a finer tip, but that fine tip would make that point even better. But 35 inches, now we're going to go down below and do the same thing. Now, again, 35 3/8. Use that chisel point best you can. Get that good point. So there's our center line. From there on up to the top one. Now we've got our center line. So everything's going to come off this center line. We're going to measure 10 inches each way, I think, for our intakes. Our grates, we're going to measure down. I'm going to set mine at 7 inches. We'll put one here, one exactly in the back, one on each side. And we'll do for our thermometer. And we'll mark our wheels automatically go at the bottom, but we want them equal distance around because there's 3 of them. We'll set all that up. Let me show you how we do it and how we get that marked. Now, one thing I didn't tell you a while ago was they do have a PDF file that gives you the basic guidelines. And they could probably be more detailed, but since I've built a few, I've understand it. You watch a few of these videos, you'll understand it also. But it gives you an idea of how far apart everything is and where they go. So we're going to use this as our template. A little different. I like to put my grate at 7 inches down because I got something a little bit taller I want to put in there. But a lot of things will go on here, and we're going to use this to start getting our marks on, and we're going to show you how we do that. Now, what they want is they want those intakes 20 inches apart. You can go a few inches either way, however you want to do it. 10 inches each side of this. So we're going to measure 10 inches, and we're going to put a mark at each spot. Now, again, nobody out here to help me, so trusty blue tape. And what I'm going to do is, if you will look, I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to put this on at 10 inches on the line. Then that way I'll mark the end of the tape, and I'll mark 20 inches over here, and we'll have this one done. So we're coming to 20 inches. That's 10 inches this side of our line. Giving me a mark here. Now, we'll go to the end of the tape, which will be 10 inches the other direction. Here we go. End of our tape measure is our 10 inches. Right there at the end of the tape. Got my mark. Now, we're going to come up 3.5 inches. As you can see, my mark's above 3.5 inches. That's where that square comes in handy. So, I can take my plastic here, square it up. There's my mark. All right? That's where that goes right there. Turn my drum. So we're 20 inches from the other one, 10 inches from our center line. There's my square. I got to have that 3.5 inch mark right there. And then we're coming up 3.5 inches. We're right there. Now we're going to measure for our grates. We've got 4 grate bolts. We're coming up 26 inches, which gives me a little over 7 inches. So I usually have that 7 inch down for my grate. If you're going to put 2 grates in here, you have to just adjust for the level you want them. I'm only going to worry about 1 grate. 26 inches. Right there. That's where that one's going. Make sure it's right. We got to figure our distance around. We got 4 bolts going in here equal distance apart. 35 3/8 is halfway. So half of that is 17 11/16. So from our center line or our back line, either one, 17 3/16, 26 up. Let me show you how we get those in. I'm at the center mark. We figured out, right? 17 11/16. So here's my 26 inch mark. So I want this somewhere around my mark. So let's find 17. This tape measure does not go to 3/16. So 2/16. I'm going to kind of go dead center. These grates don't have to be exactly on the line, but I want them pretty close, and that's just the distance apart they are. The height of 26 inches does have to be exactly right. So I'll go around this way to the 35 3/8. I'll go around that way to the end of the tape measure. That's our grate bolts, all right? So let's do that. Spin our drum. So 35 3/8. Right there. Spin our barrel. See when my tape comes in handy. All right, right here. Come in here and see if I can do it where y'all can see it, but end of my tape measure. Right there. Equal distance apart, 4 bolts. Again, my square, go ahead and take my tape measure down, but I want to square down, and I'm somewhere close right now. All right, so I'm going to put this here, and I'm just going to give me a short line right here. Now I'll find my 26 inches. 26 is right there. There's the mark for my grate bolt. All right. I can take my cloth tape measure back off. Now this one we know is on the seam, right? Got it. Spin it around, get the other 2 on here, then we'll go to the next measurement. Now for our temperature gauge. This is supposed to be 1.5 inches below our grate. So that would be 24.5 inches. So 24.5 inches, that's my thermometer. When we do our air stacks, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and bolt those on, all right? So they're going to get bolted on because this top hole, it's got to be straight. So I know my distance off I need to be, but I'm not sure up and down exactly where it's going to go until I mount it. So I'm going to lay it on the drum, and then I'm going to drill my hole, put it right where it's dead center. Then I'm going to mark this top hole to drill it, so I know that that hole that holds the top of your air intake is exactly in the correct place. We'll get the bolts for my diffuser plate, right? So from the bottom, go about mid-drum, that would be 17 inches. Now I'm going to mark that on each one of my lines for the my center, my back, each side, 4 ways, same way I did for my grate bolts. They'll be directly below my grate bolts. Next thing I'm going to do is mount my wheels. Now, I have 3 of them, so basically a 72-inch drum. I'm going to put 1 dead center. The other 2 are going to be 24 inches back from this. 4 3/4 inches is the center of this hole at the top, all right? So I'm going to put it on my line, 24 inches, come up 4 3/4 of an inch, and that will be my center hole. Once I get these on there, I will mark the 2 side holes. Wheel bracket out of the way, and it's fitting up tight against the top of the barrel. So we're going this time because it's 4 3/4 from the top of this, which is under the barrel. So let's go 4 3/4 inches. Now I'm going to measure 24 inches around. Give me another hole at 4 3/4 inches. Next thing I'm going to do is make 2 bolts for my lid to rest on. I'm going to come down about 12 inches and I'm going to put 2 bolts to hold my lid off of the barrel. That way the grease on the inside of this lid won't get on the barrel. So we'll come like this and figure out where it's going to hang. I'm going to have a hook on it right about there. So I need to go from here to here. I'm going to take that measurement, and those bolts are going to go that far apart. Then this will rest on the bolt and on the hook and not up against the barrel to get it all dirty. So let me pull that measurement. Then we'll put the holes in here along the back side. We've got our lid up here, and we're going to try to find center line on the lid. So if I measure across my lid, outside to outside, 23.5 inches. So center would be 11 3/4 inches. So I'm going to come in here and get the center of my lid, kind of, can only guess this, you can't be exact. 11 3/4 of an inch. You can't get 2 marks, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to eyeball being in the center of my 2 bung holes. And I'm going to cross that line when I do it. And right there is about right. I'm going to draw me a line on here. Keep it on there. Center of my bung hole. All right, guys. There's a center line, about the best I can get it. That's for our handle and for our hook. Grab my straight edge here. Put it down. My hook's going up here. So what I'm going to do is put this on there. And that's about where I want it. I'm going to go ahead and just mark it right there. So I'm going to drill my hole at that spot there. The second hole I drill, after I get the first one, then I can put the hook in there and bolt that and run it right through the hole of my hook. I know it's exactly right. Now, this one is 3 1/8 on our handle. So our handle is going to go midline, 3 1/8 up from the center. That's going to put our lid on the center of the barrel head. Let's mark this one at 3 1/8. I'm going to put a mark actually on my handle. Right there, it's 3 1/8. I'm just going to come in here and give me a pencil mark right there. This handle is 2 inches wide. So I'm going to put a 1-inch mark on it, line that up with my line, then I know I'm in the right spot. Just get my 1 inch on each side. I know I'm in the right spot, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark 1 hole. Once I've drilled that hole, I'll put a bolt in, then I can adjust it for my other 3 bolt holes. Where my handle's going, take my center punch, I'm going to go right dead center of that hole, give it a whack for my hook for my lid, again, center. Now I have a place to start my drilling right there. This way those holes don't walk around if you start them with a punch. So let's drill this one. All right, hole number 1. Come into my center punch for my hook. Now, we have those holes in. So what I'm going to do is now take my hook, drop a bolt through. I'm going to put this hook right on the line. All right, it's right there. Come in with my drill bit. There we go. That's ready. Take my handle, do it the same way. Bolts in. Now, of course, when these bolt down, they're little short bolts. Put my bolt through. Into my hole. Now, I have my other marks. If I want to take a center punch, I can take a center punch, or I can just go right there. Sure, I'm on my line. I'm going to go caddy corner from that one. Put it right there. Drop that one in. Right there. Now, this can't move around on me anywhere. I'll do my other 2 holes. I've now got all the holes for my lid drilled, and we know they're in the right place. Let's get the barrel up here and show you what we're going to do next. Got our barrel up here now. I'm going to try to bring this camera in, raise it up. It'll get a little bit higher than the other one will, so y'all can see down. We're going to take our center punch, punch our centers, drill our holes, and then we're going to bolt everything on, make sure it fits. If that's the case, then we're going to take it and burn it out. I'm going to put it there, take my hole punch, and I'm going dead center of that hole. All right? A hammer. Going on here. So that's where that one goes. Now, if y'all remember, I said this a while ago, these ears aren't bent. So we're not quite ready for those yet. I'm going to put my bolt in here after I bend these, I'll drill those holes with this bolt in there. While we're doing wheels, let's roll this and get the next wheel hole done. 3.5 inch mark, this is for our intakes. Right on our line. There we go, place for our drill bit. Now, this time we're going to use a hole saw. We're going to drill an 1.5 inch hole in here. Be careful, because sometimes these hole saws can catch and want to torque your drill and hurt your wrist or something like that. So be careful doing this. Don't let them lock up on you. There we go. Let's get the other one drilled out, and then we'll go on to the next hole. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this 1.5 inch bit, and that's a little bit bigger than an 1.5 inch. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tap it. It's an old bit, don't worry about it, it ain't going to mess it up any. That way it wants to stay in there. Now I can put that and I can get my holes here, but this top end where it wants to be at is, remember, 10 inches off our center line. Line this up at 10 inches. Move that to the side a little bit. Take my square again, right? So now I'm going to move my pipe back in line with that, and that's going to give me my top mark. I know my pipe is straight. I'm on the center of this line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my center punch, and I'm going to go dead center of that hole. All right, right there. Let's get our 1/4 inch bit. We're going to drop a screw in here. Then we'll do those bottom 4. I'm on my mark. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to drop my bolt in that hole. That's going to hold it straight. And I always want to get a bolt set that I know is right. So I'm going to get one of them. I'm going to go dead center right here. All right. Set that punch. Here's my drill bit. Center of my hole. 1/4 inch bolts in the hole. Now I can use these as guides for my other 4 holes, my other 3 holes right here. All those holes are in, right place. We're good. We'll roll it. We're going to put in the other one. I won't show you that, but once we get the other one drilled out right, we'll come back and show you, start drilling the bolts for the grate and the bolts to hold our lid up off of our drum. I'm going to try to show you how I bend these. So I'm going to go right here. So it's on there. And we're going to bend these in. See that one bent? I'm going to say about that much. So I'm going to hold this here now so this other one will bend. Now guys, I tell you what I did. I did it so that this would catch that bottom lip, thinking, well, the weight of the drum's sitting on it. But as I look at it like this, it might have fit like that and just bolted on. But I've already got a hole in my drum. Since I've already got these holes in it, I'm going to drop a bolt in there. I'm going to drill out these 2 holes, and I'm going to put it on there like that. This is our bottom grate. This is going to be our diffuser plate. This is going to be our grate. 17 inches from the bottom, 26 inches from the bottom. Take my hole punch, bottom of my mark, right there. We can drill our holes. Again, it's a 1/4 inch hole, and we're going to do this all the way around. We got 4 holes for each one, and we still have to drill our hole for our thermometer and for our grommet for bringing our leads through. Right here in where we punched our hole. All right, there's that one. Now come back for our diffuser plate. There we go. We'll roll this around, get all the other 3 marks done. Then we'll get back and show you how we do our thermometer and how we do our grommet port for our heat cables. This is for where my lid hangs so it doesn't go up against the pit. 14 from the very top. All right, so, and I did a 5-inch spread. That's my 5-inch mark right there. These aren't quite as necessary to be that accurate, but This is the hole for our thermometer. It's 1.5 inches below this one. Put it right there, right on the line. And it's a 3/4 inch hole, and I'm not going to use a hole saw. Didn't have a 3/4 inch hole saw. So I'm going to use a unibit, and we're going to drill this out with it. And when we get to 3/4, it goes to 7/8. So when it gets to 3/4, we'll stop. All right, try it. That actually will screw in there. I like that. It's got a set screw for the inside, so we're good to go. That one's done. I'm not going to do this exact. Here's my intake. Here's the line for my grate. So I'm going to stay in line with these two, and I'm just going to put this right here. And that is 17 11/16. And again, this one doesn't have to be that exact. It just needs to be above the grate so I can get in the cables. Take my step bit, and this one needs to be 7/8 of an inch, and that's for the grommet. There we go. That should be 7/8, and it is. So I can pass through my pedometer wires in there to put a wire and a piece of meat or something like that in our briskets. So we've got that. Folks, we are ready to start burning this barrel. Hey, it's day 2 over here. Yesterday, just to recap, we got all the barrel measured. We got everything drilled out. It's ready to go. Today, we're going to burn it out and we're going to prime it. Now, before I start burning it out and doing that, I'm going to get rid of some burrs that are inside of our drill holes. Y'all come in here. Let me show you what I'm talking about and show you how we get rid of them. If you look right here, we have some burrs where when the drill came through, it makes. And what I got is a rat tail file. And I'm just going to come in here. And I'm just going to clean these burrs off. Take care of all those. We'll get back with you and start burning the paint off this barrel. There's a few different ways you can clean the paint off this barrel. You can sand it off. If you got a sander, sand it off. That's fine. You can get you some wood, put in here. It'll burn out the inside liner, but you can build a fire in them. Let them burn out. Be careful, you get them hot. Sometimes the lid gets distorted in its shape. You got to reshape the lids if you get them too hot. But I'm going to use a pear burner. Some people call these a weed burner. It ran on propane. Down here, this is what we use to burn cactus for the cows. So we call them pear burners because we're doing the cactus pears. And we burn all the thorns off of them. But anyways, I'm going to light this up and kind of show you how we get started. I'm not going to bore you with the whole process. What I'm going to do is I'm going to let this cool. We're going to check the inside. I bet you a big part of the inside is already burned off because I got this so hot already. Touch up where we need to on the inside. I'm going to flip this over. I'm going to burn this blue band around the bottom, and I'm going to burn the bottom off. But we've got to let this cool first so we can touch it. So get back with y'all as soon as this barrel's cool. Now, let me show you what we're doing next. This is our auxiliary parts. No rust on them, anything like that. A lot of times pipes have a little coat of oil on them to keep them from rusting. And I'm sure these are just like any other pipe. Don't necessarily feel oily, but I guarantee there's a little coating on it. So I've got denatured alcohol. So open that up. Get you a good rag. I'm going to rub this barrel down after I run my wire brush over it with our drill. But I'm going to put denatured alcohol on here. And I'm just going to take this and wipe it down good. That way I know my paint's going to stick. This denatured alcohol is not oily and dries real quick. So that's ready to go. I'm going to get my other auxiliary parts, wipe them down. Then I'm going to go hang them up. Got a little shed over here we're going to stand underneath. There's no wind today, nothing blowing. So I'm not worried about it. If I had a wind, I'd go get in the barn or something like that to do this step so I don't get any dirt on my primer. But not worried about it today. So that's clean. I'm going to go and hang this and start spray painting now to give you a look on how we do that. We're just painting up kind of our auxiliary pieces. We've got the lids for our intakes, our exhaust, our wheel brackets. I'll bring out the two intake pipes in a minute, but just want to put a nice even coat. Don't get too close. It keeps you from getting runs. So kind of stay back away from them and just keep it moving. Just like that, get a good coat all the way around it. Now what I'm going to do is, I've got this, we burn it off, then I took a wire brush, got everything that didn't burn, so it's nice and clean. I'm going to put some denatured alcohol on my rag, clean rag, just to make sure there's no oil or anything like that that would prevent the paint from sticking. All right, that's good and clean. And now we're going to get our high heat primer on here. And when you're painting this, you just want to make sure, don't get too close, and you want to take long, kind of wide strokes. Just like that. You don't want to stop. That's where you're going to get your runs. You want to keep moving. We've got it together, and I found out one thing, folks. I am not a painter. All right? So don't criticize my paint job too bad. I got 2 coats of cherry red on this barrel, and no, it's not real pretty. I'm going to tell you that right now. But it is painted, so it's going to secure it. It's going to help keep it from rusting, and from a distance, it'll look all right. Anyways, first thing we're going to do here is we're going to bolt on our wheels assemblies, and we're going to bolt on our stacks because they're the lowest. I got help here right now. I got John. He can reach down the bottom and hold nuts for me. So we're going to bolt those on. I'll show you how we bolt those on and get that going. And we're going to see if we can put this thing together. Pretty easy to put on. Just take our nut. We're going to start at the top, get it in first. And John's nice and long, so he can reach in there all the way to the bottom. If you don't have somebody tall like him, you just need to get you a wrench or something where you can hold it on there. And we're going to put all of our nuts on and get everything ready to go before we tighten up. If you tighten up one at a time, sometimes the holes will be off and you might need to shift it a little bit and you can't. Time to get our intake on. Now, we don't want any air slipping in here, so I have a red ATV sealant, high heat sealant that's going to go on this one. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this and I'm going to go around each bolt hole. Then I'm going to come back and I'm going to put a good bead all the way around the hole. Right there. Now when we put that on, that's going to seal that and not let any air come into it except for what we're letting in the top. Take one nut. This has, let me show it to you, it's got a hole here, so I'm going to hang it with that one, and that'll help us have these holes down here in the right place a little bit better. John's going to go ahead and put the nut on, kind of loosely, so it doesn't fall out. But here we go. All right, we got the tough ones in. That was the bottom ones. Now we're going to do the where the diffuser plate's going to go. We'll get those 4 bolts in, move up to the grate bolts, get those in, get our thermometer in, and of course put the wheels on the bottom. So anyways, we're getting real close to lighting a fire in this. I'm going to oil it down some, light a fire, set that first bit of oil on the edges. It's going to help get any rust from being in that barrel. But we're just going to spray it down. But right now, we're going to put the wheels on. That way, if we need to turn this barrel and move it, we're not scratching the paint on the very bottom of it. So we're going to flip it over. I'll show you how the casters hook onto the mounts. It's a real easy process. Then we'll flip it back over, and we're going to get the grill grates in and the diffuser plate, the bolts to hold those up. Going to put these casters on, pretty easy. And these are a 3-inch. They are not part of the kit, though. These are, I bought these extra to have the wheels. And if you go, I'll put a link for the ultimate kit so y'all can see which kit I did get. And folks, I tell you what, I'm excited to cook in this thing. And again, get all your bolts on, snug them up, then we'll come back and tighten them up. Just want to make sure they get through the holes okay. Here you go, folks, look at this. I like that, never had one with wheels on it before. But that's going to work good. Next thing we're going to do is our lowest bolt hole down is for our diffuser plate. So we're going to get those bolt holes in. Diffuser plate, don't need to really show that, I don't think, on camera, but we're going to put 4 bolts They're 2-inch long bolts, so they'll go in, so it has a place for that rack to sit and that diffuser plate to sit. So I misspoke a little bit while ago. Those were 1.5-inch bolts. I got 2-inch bolts, and what they're going to be for is they're going to go right here. And remember, I told you that when I hang the lid, I didn't want the lid against the barrel to get it dirty. So these are going to go in there to hold it off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my first nut on and just run it all the way up on there. Now, you can have it as far out as you want to. If you want to go all the way out, you can leave your bolt nut all the way in. But we'll put it on. John, go ahead and put the inside one on. Now, to put our handle together, right? You cannot tap, these are tap caps, and they cover the end and they don't come off of your stainless steel handle. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to do it before it goes on the barrel, because once you put it on, you really can't hit hard enough to do it. So come in here, I'm going to zoom you in and y'all can see how I do this. Now, we're just going to take our rod and put it on our cap. You got it there, John? All right, here we go. There we go. It's on this one. Will not come off. Now, I'll put it on the handle and I'll tap on the top one. Put my spring in, pass my rod through right there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the lid down, put the cap down. Rod goes in it. I'm going to tap this in. And there we go. It's on. It's not coming off. Now we can put this on our lid. All right, here we go. Got 4 nuts. Here you go. 4 bolts. And so we're just going to put them in. And remember, we want to get our bolts through and get everything kind of on there and the nuts on. Then tighten everything up. While we're doing those, just might as well tighten them up all at the same time. I'm going to put my hook on the lid. So pass my bolts down through there. Again, this isn't part of the kit. This is something I bought. So these are extras I put on it, but there they are. Screw in the exhaust, and it screws right into our bung hole. If you don't have a lid with a bung hole, order the one that is flanged where you can bolt it down. Now these are just bolted on top, and we use a lock nut so we can put some pressure on it and it doesn't loosen or tighten, but we can adjust that. So let's get this nut and the lock nuts on with it. Put that one in. And folks, I did paint the top of all these nuts so they would be silver and have a tendency to not rust. Now this one, you have to hold the wrench on it the whole time because that little nylon washer on that nut keeps it from moving. All right, remember, we just want to take this snug where we can adjust it, John. Going to put the cover plate for our air intake. John's going to get the lock nut on. Again, that lock nut will hold its position so you don't have to worry about it loosening up or tightening up. And you do not want these where they're real loose. You want these where they'll move around. Just where you can move them, but they don't move on their own. So there's our grommet. Goes in that hole right there. It's a 7/8 hole. It's good to go. That's where our thermometer goes. And folks, here's where you always want your exhaust when you're cooking opposite your intake. So this is the back. That's where our hold offs are, our bolts. So look here. That's where our lid's gonna hang. And I tell you what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this to where 300 is straight up. And to tighten that up, all you do is you take a screwdriver, and those nuts are made where you can tap on them and just push them down to get them good and tight. There you have it. The only thing I didn't show you was the bottle opener. That comes in your kit also, and it's the only hole you have to drill that's not a 1/4 inch. I think it's a 3/16, but it's a little bit smaller nut and bolt that hold it on. So other than that, they're all 1/4 inch holes. Your thermometers are 3/4 and your grommet's a 7/8. If you use a unibit or a step bit, no problem at all for you. But this came out pretty good. Let's show you the firebox that came, and then we'll show getting in our grates, and then we'll have this video done. It's got a very heavy duty basket, fire basket, 12 by 12 by 12. And I tell you what, folks, this is going to outlast a few barrels. Drop it to the bottom. Then I'm going to put in my diffuser plate. Now, this didn't come in the kit, and it's not one of the ones from UDSparts.com. This, a friend of mine, Rick Galindo over at Rick's Barbecue and Specialty, gave me this. So, Rick, thank you for that. It's going in next on the bottom set of bolts. All right, it's in there. It's going to diffuse the heat out where it's got to spread some. Now, this is a beautiful laser cut grill. They are great. That's going to go in there. Has lava lock on it. But that's nice. Goes right in the top. Drop it down. Folks, this is ready to go. Now, I have never used a gasket on these. And this one's got a good tight fitting lid. I don't think it's going to leak. If there's a problem, they do send you a gasket that you could put on here. That it's got a self-adhesive that goes up in the top. I think if I had the hinge, maybe I would use that. I don't have a hinge on this lid because I'm just going to pop it up. And you got to pop it pretty good to get it off. So it's going to hold temperature, but that's it. So, you know, first off, thank you very much, UDSparts.com, Lava Lock. Great to work with. They got me this kit, the ultimate kit. Again, I'll put a link down below for them for this kit. But this is a beautiful smoker, minus maybe my paint job, right? But it is a cherry red and aluminum. Thought it looked kind of like a hot rod. But anyways, put this together. It looks really nice. I do appreciate that. So go over there, show them some love. Tell them Chef Johnny sent you. And tomorrow, I'm actually going to be cooking on this. I'm going to cook some briskets on it. And so you'll get to see the very first cook in this ugly drum smoker that isn't so ugly from UDSparts.com. Guys, thank y'all a lot. I hope y'all will go over and tell them that I sent you over there. Guys, appreciate you watching. I know this is probably a long video, but it's a great one. It's going to show you how this works, show these great parts I got from UDSparts.com. But thanks for stopping by. I always do appreciate it. Tell your friends and family about us. Share us on your social media. And we're going to see you down the road on Texas-style barbecue and cuisine. Goodbye, everybody.
How them boys put food away beats all I've ever seen.